As of July 1st, 2016, the total number of death row inmates in the United States is well over 2,000, and California holds the lead with 741 inmates. It's an insane amount of people awaiting for execution. You should listen to me because I've done extensive hours of research, from reading scholarly articles, watching debate videos about the topic, and even talking to a few of the lawyers at my mom's firm who have dealt with death penalty cases personally. Another reason why you should listen is because election dates are approaching, November 8th, and being knowledgeable about the propositions and what they are going to do is only going to help you in your voting process. In this speech, I'm going to inform you about Proposition 66. First, I'm going to discuss the origins and why it was created. Then I'm going to discuss the ways in which it hopes to improve the death penalty process, making it more efficient. And then I'm going to discuss the ways in which it's going to save taxpayers of California money. To begin, I want to discuss why Proposition 66 is being voted on. Whether you're for the death penalty or against it, both sides can agree on one thing, and that is that it's highly ineffective. It's not working. It's been 10 years since we have last executed somebody. And to date, only 13 people have been executed since California brought back the death penalty in 1977. To be eligible for the death penalty, you have to have been convicted of first-degree murder with special circumstances. Those are including and not limited to raping and torturing your victim, serial killers, child killers, etc. Annually in the state of California, there are about 2,000 murders, and only 15 of those 2,000 result in a death penalty. So it's about 2% of all crimes that go to this extreme. The process that we're using now starts off with a jury unanimously convicting you of your crime, then separately unanimously regarding the death sentence and proposing that against you. And then you hear the amount of appeals, and then ultimately you're executed. And Proposition 66 recognizes that there's an issue with the process that we're using now and proposes to fix those things. Proposition 66 focuses mainly on wanting to remove the time where nothing's happening, because there are far too many delays in the system that we're using now, and it's not working. There are 110 inmates in LA County alone who do not have habeas corpus counsel. That's 110 people who don't have a lawyer representing them. A way that Proposition 66 proposes to fix this issue is by hiring more qualified attorneys to represent these death row inmates. Another reason why it's not working is because of the backlog due to the Supreme Court itself. It can take up to 15 years for an opinion to come down to a direct appeal, and that's 15 years that we're spending money and wasting time. A way that Proposition 66 proposes to fix this is by sending any habeas corpus petitions back to the original court that heard the case in the first place, instead of sending it to the Supreme Court. A habeas corpus petition is the second form of appeal that the condemned inmates are entitled to. Another way that Proposition 66 proposes to fix the death penalty process by making it more efficient is by limiting the amount of years that an appeal can be done, limiting it to 5 years, and that way that the process goes by a lot faster. Another way the Proposition 66 proposes to do is by saving taxpayers millions of dollars, because as of right now, we're spending $5 billion over the past 38 years for only 13 executions. That's roughly $348 million per execution, and it's an insane amount of money, and it's being dragged on throughout 38 years. It's not efficient. A way that Proposition 66 goes about fixing this is by stating that the special appeals lawyer should be hired immediately when the defendant is convicted of his crime. And then also, another way to save money is by dismantling death row completely and scattering the condemned inmates throughout the state's prisons. And while doing so, also take away any special privileges or accommodations that we provide for them as taxpayers of California. This will save us millions. Another way Proposition 66 proposes to save taxpayers of California money is by having them work while they're waiting their appeals, while they're waiting their execution, and having them contribute to the economy while they're costing us money. All of these regulations and all these changes would save California taxpayers around $30 million, which is a lot of money. To conclude, I told you about Proposition 66. And now that you know all this information, it will hopefully make your decision easier on November 8th. I started off by telling you the origins of the proposition, the ways in which it hopes to make the death penalty more efficient, time and money-wise, and the way that it proposes to save you, the taxpayers of California, millions of dollars. There are 741 people awaiting death row, and whether or not you agree with the death penalty or not, you guys are the ones who decide what happens to them. So go in and vote.